All right, good afternoon, traders. Today it's February 12th, 2026. My name is Coach Kerrigan. I'm the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. Thank you for being here. Take a look at how I made 2,400 with the 32K account. Let's take a peek at the markets this morning. All right, I had a bullish bias. All right, and I had a bullish bias based on SPY. Based on the consolidation over the post market. So this was all consolidating over the post market, and I had a bullish bias for price to come back up, probably even break out. But they had other plans, and I said I was going to buy the dip, and I said there's a big, strong possibility that price rolls over, and if it does, I told traders you might want to just cross, you might want to just dump your trade when the 3 EMA crosses underneath the 8. So we had a nice 10-minute downtrend right through here, which I did trade on a couple of contracts, but I was really just trying to pick off the bottom of the 698 calls, okay, which I managed to make a little bit of ink right there and a little bit of ink right there, not much, all right? So other than that, the rest of my basket of calls went in the red. I just took the hits right there. All right, that's it. And then into the close, we hit support, which is 680.39. I really feel like we bounce overnight back up to this area here, if not right into 690. So I feel like we probably bounce right back up to here, probably consolidate above it. And then we got CPI coming in tomorrow. Wouldn't doubt it if CPI gets us up to here. And then I think once the market opens, I think we could even rally all the way up to 695, back up to this highs, right back up to the downtrend line, maybe even 700. We'll see what happens, all right? We just hit support. Now, there's no telling if the support's going to hold. I mean, it's only been tested once, but it's been tested many times. Here, here, here. And each time they come into this support, they seem to recover. I really think they're dying to put in a higher low here, and with the higher low, I feel like on the overnight action is going to bring us right back up to this hourly uptrend line. All right, and then I think that will be the overnight action, and then the pre-market, I think we wind up getting up to 690 with the CPI, and maybe once the market opens, I think we get higher. We'll see. All right. We very well could be down here tomorrow morning and then possibly make it to here and then roll over to go further down. I don't know. All right. I'm just saying that they seem to have bought it up off of this 680 number multiple times before. I think they're dying to put in a higher low here. I think they're dying to get to 700. I think they're just waiting for FNGU. And I think they're just killing time here with all this back and forth while we're waiting for FNGU to get into an uptrend or find support. So we'll take a look at FNGU and see where that is. So here's the FNGU, and you can see on the daily chart. All right, so now on the daily chart, we just about hit probably support right here. So FNGU finally hit support right there. See that peak? So they got some support right here. So and right there. See this right there, right here, and right here. Notice it's just before they get into the lower third down here. So I think if NGU rallies out of here tomorrow, maybe next week, I think we could see ourselves at 700. We just need FNGU, this is what we call stinker, to start making its path in the other direction instead of south. Okay, it's been melting down ever since it broke major support right through here. Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the markets. And we'll look at SPY. Of course, you can see it was in a 10-minute downtrend. And we'll start off with the 10-minute. And you got a 10-minute downtrend coming in the close, hitting support. Okay, so I picture this overnight back up to here. And then in the pre-market, I think they consolidate on top of it. So I think in the post-market, they work their way back up to here. And I think in the pre-market, they wind up doing some consolidation over consolidation. And then once the CPI comes out, I think they find their way back to 690. We'll see. All right, it's a tall order. We'll see. Okay, this pink line is the all-time high anchored VWAP. The teal line is the origin of the rally from April last year to where we are now. Okay, so that's the April low. All right, that created the whole rally in the first place. All right, so 10-minute downtrend coming into the close. 2-hour chart, obviously, 2-hour downtrend coming into the close. You got the sticks and the 3 riding underneath the 8. You got both, see the 3 and the 8 all both pointed down. So we got a 2-hour downtrend coming into the close. On the daily chart, we're still in an uptrend. Okay, because we made a higher high yesterday. All right, so we're still in an uptrend, even though we got this big red candle down. All right, so based on this, we've got a lower high, lower low, closed underneath, a bearish cross underneath the 17. Right here, let me take this out of the way. All right, you can see we're still at the top of quadrant 4. So we're still in an uptrend because, again, I said we made a higher high yesterday. So we're still in an uptrend until we take out this low. All right, and we're still up at the top of quadrant 4. Okay, so here's quadrant 4 right here. We're still up at the top, so we're still bullish and in an uptrend up here on SPY. Okay, remember this is our April low, that teal line. Okay, this is it right here. So this is attached to that low that happened here. So on the different charts, this moves up closer and closer based on the all-time high anchored VWAP. Remember, it's not a true all-time high anchored VWAP. This is an anchored all-time high anchored VWAP, all-time low. Well, this is not an all-time low. It's an anchored low anchored VWAP, okay? So it moves around based on whatever time frame you're on. Yep, QQQ. So we're going to go look at 2-minute chart. On the SPY is starting in the post-market, a 2-minute uptrend. Like I said, I really envision price being right back up here before 8 o'clock or right around 8 o'clock tonight. And then in the pre-market, I think we can have consolidation right on top of consolidation. So I wouldn't doubt it if we wind up consolidating right up through, actually, just an extension of all of this. Okay, so I wouldn't doubt it if we wind up right back up here by 8 o'clock tonight. Okay, so there's SPY. Let's take a look at QQQ. Okay, well, actually, we'll look at weekly chart. See all the green dots still bullish and in an uptrend. On the monthly chart, still bullish, still in an uptrend. Take a look at QQQ. And we'll start with the 2-minute. See, oh, that's nice 2-minute, John. Yes. And then on the 15, he said they got a hammer. Okay, so you got a hammer on the 15. Right there. And then you've got, you can see on the 2, you've got a 2-minute uptrend commencing. Remember, all the bigger time frames start out with a smaller time frame. And then they transition into bigger ones and bigger ones like a snowball. All right, so there's QQQ. On the 10-minute chart, I'm sure it's a 10-minute downtrend. Yep, into the close. 2-hour chart, I'm sure it's a 2-hour downtrend. You got the sticks and the 3, everything pointed down. 2-hour downtrend coming into the close on QQQ. Daily candle, it's a lower high and a lower low. We're closing underneath a bearish trap, underneath the falling, underneath the flat 17, underneath the all-time high anchored VWAP. That's the pink line. Okay, we're hitting the, see the support line right through here? We're hitting the support line once again. All right, price action is still in the middle of quadrant 4. They're still in a downtrend because they have not made a higher low yet. Okay, but let me just say, once FNGU, if it finally, Stinker finally turns around, all right, and finds support tomorrow, next week, It's going to be in fuego. Okay? I'm just saying, either that either next week or the week after. It's going to be in fuego. I think it's going to be hot because once those top 10 weighted stocks start moving as a pack of wolves in the same direction, and I'm talking about north or to the upside, okay? I'm just saying things could really start to rip, all right? So there's QQQ on the daily chart, bullish, but still in the downtrend. Weekly chart, bullish, still in the downtrend. They got to take out this low right here to break the weekly chart. The monthly chart, still bullish and in an uptrend. Okay, and let's take a look at Diamond Dow. Look at that Diamond Dow. Let's take a look at Diamond Dow on the daily chart. All right, so a low, lower high, lower low. Remember the new all-time high is right here. Okay, so lower high, lower low, closing underneath, a bullish trap, but on top of the 17 EMA, underneath the all-time high anchored VWAP. Remember, it's only been 2 days. Still clearly at the top of quadrant 4, that's bullish. All right, so that's bullish. Here's the April low, and still in an uptrend right there. Okay, it's bullish because it's in the upper third and the upper quadrant 4. See, top of quadrant 4, that's bullish. Still in an uptrend. They have not made a lower low. All right, and then I'm talking about a lower valley low. Okay, so this would be the valley, or this would be the valley low to be. All right, so Diamond Dow still in an uptrend. IWM. Okay, so here's IWM, lower high, lower low, closing underneath a bearish cross underneath the all-time high anchored VWAP. They are still in an uptrend until they take out this low right here. Okay, so this is IWM on the daily chart. Still in an uptrend. You can see they're still in the middle of quadrant 4. Here's the April low. So they're still bullish and in an uptrend. Okay, now here comes Stinker. All right, and I'm going to move this out of the way you can see the ease. All right, so Stinker, okay, so we got the lower third. Let's just mark off the lower third. Let's just eyeball it and call it right there, okay? They don't have to come and touch this line, all right? They could decide that AI is way too important to have to touch this line and reverse right here with a double bottom, all right? They could say failed to make a significant lower low and then ripped in the other direction. We'll see what happens, but this is the lower third. There will most likely be a bounce right here on the lower third, okay? So if I were to put in, let's just take the Fibonacci, all right, and see what that looks like. There's the all-time high. Let's move this down to here. Okay, so let's reverse it. All right, so guess what we're on right now? This is the 618. This is the 618 Fibonacci retracement line right there. Okay, I'm taking from the bottom to the top. That's the 618. Like I said, they don't have to hit the support line. They could just say, oh, this is the 618, and then reverse tomorrow. All right? So if they don't do it tomorrow, I'm picturing maybe a little waffling around next week, but eventually they're going to make a turn, okay, right here, and they're going to probably head back to the upper third where the all-time high anchored VWAP lies, right there. Now they could get there in one candle, or they could take 30 candles. I don't know. All right? Okay, this is a really wild thing here, okay? This is You know, this is if you got a fund manager, guarantee he's got one of those 10 in your portfolio. Okay? Guarantee it. All right? If he's managing your money, he's going to have one of those top 10 leveraged products inside your portfolio. So if it doesn't happen next week, it's definitely going to happen when those employee allocations come in and they got to put those to work. All right. This is a beautiful retracement area. Looking for the higher low. They'll probably be buying the crap out of this. All right. Right at the 618, right at the lower third. Okay. So sunshine is just around the corner. Okay. So there's stinker for today. Lower high, lower low, closing underneath the bearish trap, underneath the 17 EMA. All right? Falling 17 EMA, underneath the all-time high anchored VWAP. Who knows, they may want to put in a big exhaustion candle that comes way down here. I don't know. We'll find out tomorrow. All right? So there's stinker on the daily. Bearish, well, it's neutral, because it's not in the lower third, but it's still in a downtrend, okay, ever since breaking major support. So there's stinker on the daily chart. All right, let's take a look at silver and gold. Silver lost some ground today. Silver got lower high, lower low, closing underneath a bearish trap, underneath the 17. Silver's in a downtrend. Silver's neutral and in a downtrend. Gold gave up some ground. Lower high, lower low, closing underneath a bullish trap. All right, closing underneath the flat 17, still up in quadrant 4. That's still bullish and still in an uptrend on GLD. Let's take a look at USO. USO is, okay, lower high, lower low, closing underneath, bullish trap, closing on top of, rising 17, closing on top of, 4-year high anchored VWAPs, a pink line. Okay, so that's bullish, still in the upper third, as bullish and still in an uptrend. Okay, that's USO. UNG puts higher low and a higher high, closing inside of a bearish trap under the falling 17, still in a downtrend. Okay, let's zoom out. This is quadrant 1, so that's bearish. All right, still underneath the all-time high anchored VWAP, still bearish and in a downtrend on UNG. Let's take a look at technicals. T2101. Participation kind of stayed flat, even with all that sell-off. All right, even with all the sell-off, there was still participation. Just kind of should have probably come in here, but it didn't. Just stayed flat right through here. T2122. I expected to be up here today with the higher low. Surprise, surprise. We wound up in the seller's chop zone, camping there all day long. Nice part is they're not in the sell zone. All right, but we stayed in the seller's chop zone all day, okay, in the seller's chop zone. So not my favorite place to be, but I think we get rescued sometime soon. Don't know when. I don't know if we need exhaustion on the FNGU or what's going to happen. But there's T2122, T2123. All right, T2123, new all-time high yet again today. Now this time the bears did fill the gap. Matter of fact, they filled today's gap and yesterday's gap. And the day before's gap has not been filled. Okay, so on price action, they got a low here. They made a lower low. So they're in a downtrend. But they made a new all-time high on the 15-minute chart. They're up over the rising 200 SMA. So that's a new all-time high for T2123. Like I said, if FNGU ever finds the bottom, all right, it's game on, all right, for the market. I mean, I'm talking 750, maybe even 800. We'll see. Okay, it's game on. All right, so there's T21.23, new all-time high. That's the 15-minute chart. Currently in a 15-minute downtrend right there because it made a low here, made a lower low. All right, so it hasn't made a higher high. 3-bar chart, new all-time high up here. 3-bar chart has to take out this low right here. Still in an uptrend on the bigger time frame, up over the flat 200 SMA, bullish. All right, and in an uptrend on T21.23 again, new all-time high. It's the same product. Stinker on the 15. Price comes down, and you can see they got a low. And they really failed to make a significant lower low here, okay? So, like I said, we could see big rally tomorrow. We'll see. CPI's coming out. It could be all the excuse that they need to rip the market to the upside and reach 700 probably in a day. All right, so there's the there's the falling 200, okay? So that's underneath the all-time high anchored VWAP. We're under the falling 200. And FNGU is still in a downtrend. Okay, so there we are with that. And if I put the quad lines on there, all right, and try to get as much of this as I can, you'll see clearly, all right, this is the highs, this is the lows. You know, we're at the bottom of quadrant 1. So that's definitely bearish and in a downtrend on the 15-minute chart. All right, let's take a look at the dollar, see what the dollar did. And the dollar is heading back kind of still weak here, all right? Here's the channel. Just hanging out here underneath the channel. All right, so no complaints there, really. All right. We did oil and gas, right? We did them all. We did the technicals. We're done, all right? So get ready for the surprises tomorrow. Maybe some fireworks. There's a possibility. And you might be disappointed too. I don't know. We'll see what they want to do, all right? So I'm seeing both indexes, QQQ and SPY, hitting support. I'm seeing FNGU, Stinker, failing to make a lower low and hitting the 618 Fibonacci retracement. We could see a turnaround in price action tomorrow. Now, let me just say, when those 10 stocks start moving as a pack in the other direction, and I'm talking about north, not south. They've been moving south now for months. All right? They start moving north, things are going to go really fast to the upside. And I'm saying don't get in front of it, all right? It's really going to run, all right? So we'll see what happens. Tomorrow should be an exciting day. CPI at 8:30. All right, traders, that's it for me. I got coaching with one of you at 5 o'clock. Don't forget, I do free coaching. All you got to do is sign up. All right, just reach out to me on Teams. All right, and I will take care of it. I'll even record it so you don't have to take the notes. I want to make you a profitable trader. All right, until then, I'll see you tomorrow, 8 o'clock, for all the fireworks.